Hi everyone, this is just a quick overview slash review of a Ford Mondeo Titanium X Sport. This one is the 2.2 manual. I just thought I'd give you a few pointers, maybe a couple things to look out for, things like that. Because there's not really that many videos on these specific car on YouTube and things like that, so I thought I'd just, whoever's trying to look for one or something like that, you know, they might need a bit of help. So yeah, let's just get started. This is a no-nonsense review slash overview. I'm just going to list a few things that the car has, you know, what it's good at, what might not be good at. So yeah, I'll carry on. Biggest point of the car, it's a solid built car, like surprisingly for a Ford anyway. Most people think Fords and that they're going to rattle and that, things like that. This doesn't really rattle much. Everything feels solid. You've got soft touch dash, leads all the way down the center console. You've got a leather wrapped steering wheel, leather on the door cards, soft touch up here. You know, further down the door cards it gets a bit scratchy. But other than that, that's fine. The only thing I don't like, I suppose years ago, and I think still today, for some reason automakers have a thing of putting gloss black, piano black, crappy inserts and things like that around the car, and they get scratched really easily. I went round mine with some plastic polish, but it, you know, after a few months it goes back the same way. It's the same with the door pillars on the outside, just gloss black, and they get scratched really easily. I don't know why they do it, but apart from that, the interior holds up on these really well, considering this is what, now a 13-year-old car. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. I've only had it since July or January, not July, June or July last year, and I've only done maybe 5,000 miles on it, but since then it's been completely fine. All it needed was a new battery. I had the time about done, just in case, obviously, because I don't think there was any proof of it being done. Engine wise, the Titanium X Sport, you can have a 2 litre diesel, or you can have a 2.2 diesel or a 2 litre EcoBoost. If I could have got the EcoBoost in a manual, I probably would have done that, but I wanted technically the fastest manual Mondeo I could get, and that was the 2.2 diesel, excluding the 2.5 5-cylinder, but that one, I know someone that had a Focus ST with that engine, and it drank a lot of fuel, and the tax is getting off around 400 quid a month, 400 quid a year, I think. So I didn't want to be paying that much, and it was you can only get the 2.5 litre in a pre-facelift Mondeo. I wanted the facelift because I just think it looks a little bit more modern. But yeah, apart from that, the 2.2, it's 200 horsepower stock, or around 175 or 180 in the pre-facelift. They're good engines. It's basically the same as the 2 litre. I think it's pretty reliable. And yeah, the only problem with the 2.2 over the 2 litre is that it drinks a considerable amount more fuel than the 2 litre for the small kind of power increase you get in. But like I say, I wanted the quickest Mondeo I could possibly get, because I came from a Fiesta ST. So I wanted to keep a certain amount of sportiness in it. That leads me on to the ride. Obviously a Titanium X Sport, it sits I think 15mm or 10mm lower than a normal Mondeo. It's if you're looking for a comfy cruiser, this might not be as comfortable as you think it's going to be. Don't get me wrong, compared to my Fiesta, it's a lot more comfortable, but you'd think a Mondeo is very soft. This is still, it still can get quite crashy over bumps, and it's got big 19-inch wheels with fairly low profile tyres on it, so it can get a little bit crashy. It's not as comfortable as you might think, but for the most part it's alright. I had this car only a couple months, and I drove to Scotland and back, an 8.5 hour drive, and it was completely fine with 4 people in the car with a boot full of luggage. Completely fine. That said, I was only getting around 45 miles to the gallon, which isn't that good for a diesel. But saying that, the car is also quite heavy without anyone in it. I think it lists at 1,700 kilograms. That's pretty heavy. But yeah, in terms of engines goes, it's pretty good. I can't recommend the automatics, because the power shift automatics you get in the EcoBoost and the 2 litre are known to have their issues, and I think they still are known to have issues today. If you go for the 2.2 automatic, it's a fairly simple torque converter, I think, and that should be okay. So the 2.2, I'm pretty sure you can get that in an automatic, and it will last you, because it's just a normal, reliable auto. The dual clutch power shift autos and things like that, I would personally avoid, unless you want to change your gearbox or whatever, like 30,000 miles and things like that. And even then, it's still kind of half luck of the draw whether it's going to blow up or not. And those gearboxes can cost thousands to replace or repair. So I personally wouldn't do it for a Mondeo. But yeah, but apart from that, it's fine. I mean, it has everything you'd ever want in a Mondeo. You know, it's got a Sony DAB stereo. It's got heated and cooled front seats. Granted, my cooling function don't work, but from what I've heard, the cooling function ain't that great anyway. But yeah, heated seats. You know, I got all my controls in the steering wheel. I've got Ford Converse Plus. It's, you know, cruise control, speed limiter, you know, music and that all on the steering wheel, auto lights and wipers, front and rear parking sensors. I mean, I feel like I hardly have to have a look behind me anymore when I'm parking, because the parking sensors just tell me. And it's a big car, and I do feel like you need them, especially if you're like me and you've come from a small hatchback. So yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, I mean, you got crappy carbon, fake carbon on the doors and that, but you know, it's good. The stereo is good. Obviously, I put a big sub in the boot and things like that, but even though the boot's good, the boot's massive, because it still fits several, you know, suitcases at the boot, even with a sub in there. It's massive. You know, it's quiet and it's refined. You're on the motorway or on, you know, it's quiet and refined, but yet if you get it to a back road, it actually holds its own. The normal Mondeo is supposed to be good, but obviously the Sport has slightly lower, stiffer suspension, so, you know, it's not as good as my old Fiesta ST. You know, it's not gonna be. It weighs fucking half a ton more, but apart from that, you know, it's pretty good going. It's really not that bad. In terms of modifications and stuff like that, obviously there's not really that much you can do to the diesels. Obviously the 5-pot you get in the pre-facelift, you can do nearly anything you want to that as you can as a Focus ST, but these diesels, yeah, I've had mine remapped and the DPF has been removed. But that's because I do a fair amount of short journeys and I didn't want it screwing around. But yeah, remapper can take it to 230, 240 if you're lucky. It just lets you get a bit more torque a bit more earlier on, because these diesels, especially the 2.2, can be quite laggy. Especially under 2000 RPMs. There's a fair bit of hesitation. It's one of those things that if you're approaching a roundabout and you're in second gear and you're doing 10 miles an hour, it's like you put your foot down, there's literally nothing. But if you change into first, it's like you're too short, you're too low of a gear, and you might end up being a bit jerky or looking like you can't drive. So it's one of them. It's either you slip the clutch in second and things like that. It's a bit of a weird one, the ratios and being a bit laggy and stuff like that. But once you get into third gear and it gives you the full amount of boost, it's pretty quick, to be fair. It is pretty quick. You know, you might surprise a couple of people in these Mondeos. And yeah, I think they look quite sporty as well. You'll see a couple of clips on the outside and things like that. You know, I think it does a decent job at looking a bit sportier. I think personally I might get a slightly bigger exhaust or some bigger exhaust tips and that to fill out those gaps and stuff. You know, but apart from that, I think it's a solid car for a lot of people. Obviously, you know, depending on where you are, you could be paying ULEZ and stuff, then it's not really worth getting one. But if you don't have to go into ULEZ areas, it really is worth a look at. Especially when you see them on Auto Trader with over 150,000 miles, stuff like that. Like the thing, like, you know, these Peugeot Citroen derived engines are pretty decent. People seem to hate on them, but they do last. Some common problems that I do see, I think a couple boost pipes are known for cracking or splitting from what I've seen on Facebook groups. The heating and cooled switch down here, that is known to get a bit crusty over time, especially if you put drinks in the cup holders, if you spill a bit of drink on it or whatever. Before you buy a new one, because from Ford they're like a couple £100 or 150 quid for a switch, and a used one goes for like 80 to 100 quid sometimes. So before you buy one, just quickly take it apart and get some contact electrical cleaner and try and give it a clean. Mine didn't fix it, but I'm not really bothered about having the cooling function, so I bought a cheap £10 heating one and it works. So my heated seats work, that's all I really care about. But yeah, it's a solid car, you know, auto climate control, 6-speed manual. You can get a quick, easy short shifter to put in, takes 10 minutes, makes the gearbox feel a little bit nicer and stiffer. You get nice Alcantara, half leather seats. You know, I've added a couple little sporting badges on the seats, and I think it suits it, to be fair. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this. You know, I think it's a good car, and people, you shouldn't overlook them. So yeah, I don't think I've got anything else really to add. It's just a quick little overview / review. I think, you know, I wouldn't pay too much. I think I probably paid a little bit too much for mine, but Honestly, if you know, can get on a decent one of these for 5 or 6 grand, it should last you quite a long time, and it'll be pretty reliable, a comfy cruiser. You get your family in 5 here. The legroom in the back is unbelievable. Like I said, I went to Scotland in it with people, you know, 2 adults in the back, and they were fine. They fell asleep just easy. You know, it's just a solidly built product, and it does the job remarkably well. So yeah, that's all I've got to say really. I'm not going to bother you with the whole like and subscribe thing. This is just a quick review. So yeah,